I'm the husband of one wife, the father of one son. Life should be simple for me, but I'm somewhat of a musician. My name is Hovig. Welcome to my podcast, Drop a Note. Do you still get nervous? Or are you used to it by now? I'm often asked before or after a piano performance or a musical production. And every time before I even begin to reply, I get a flashback of a certain memory from 40 years ago. Something I will never forget. Something so overwhelming that, well, should I tell you the story? I guess that's why you're listening, right? Okay, sit back and listen. We traveled back to Lebanon, where I was born and lived until I was 18. If you missed some of the previous episodes of this podcast, go back and listen to them so you get the full picture. My school, one of the Armenian schools in Beirut, was invited to bring some of its elementary or primary students to a popular children's program on television. In the days before YouTube, Netflix, Disney Plus, and so on, the Tele Liban main TV channel in Lebanon was the source of entertainment for us. And this children's program, which was called in Arabic Alam al-Sigar, which translates to the world of children, not the world of cigars, was a particular favorite for families and young children. I remember we were taken to the TV studio in a big bus. And when we entered the studio, lots of lights, cameras, we were dazed. Eventually, the presenter lady came. We were at awe. We saw her every week on TV, and now here she was standing in front of us in real life. We started filming. First, our school choir sang some Christmas songs. Our teacher played the piano, and I played the xylophone for those. Then, my super confident young sister sang a solo, Deck the Halls. All going well so far. We had a short break while the cameras changed positions, and the presenter lady had her makeup reapplied. Next on the program was my piano solo. I had prepared well for it and was not feeling any nerves really until I was told that when the filming resumed, the presenter lady would ask me some questions before I played the piano. No, that was not part of the plan. I started panicking. More so because I had to answer the questions in Arabic. Now I have to explain something here. Arabic is the main language of Lebanon, as well as another 25 countries in North Africa, the Middle East, and the Arabian Peninsula. As Armenians growing up in Lebanon, we all learned Arabic at school, but the majority of the time we spoke Armenian, at home, with family, relatives, with friends. You see, as Armenians, we stick together since we have a history of displacement and genocide. So we have our Armenian schools, Armenian churches, Armenian neighborhoods, and so on. And we want to keep using and preserving our language. And Arabic is a hard language. It's complicated. It's actually two languages in a sense. There's the classical written Arabic, which is the same throughout the Arab world, and then the spoken Arabic, which differs significantly sometimes from country to country and even within the same country. We Armenians, with the exception of those who grew up in more Arab neighborhoods or with Arab friends, we have historically struggled with the spoken Arabic, with the grammar, especially mixing the genders up when it comes to conjugation of verbs, the voweling, and all the accessories in a sentence. See, I told you it's complicated, but that's no excuse. We should speak better. And our Lebanese Arab friends enjoy making fun of us because of it. And rightly so. We deserve it. Now, in some cases, when our Arab friends learn to speak Armenian, we make fun of their mistakes and funny accent. And rightly so. They deserve it. Making fun of each other may be less and less politically correct these days, but when different people groups have to live with each other, the alternative to laughing is usually fighting. I think we need to laugh more and take ourselves less seriously. A nice New Year's resolution maybe, huh? But I digress. Back to the TV studio. I forgot all about my upcoming piano solo and instead started worrying about how I would answer her questions. without making grammatical mistakes, without embarrassing my family, my teachers, my school. The lady presenter glided towards me as the camera started filming again. I wanted to be anywhere else but there at that moment. She asked the first question. I somehow managed to release some noise from my mouth, as low as possible, keeping my answer as short as possible. Thankfully, she realized that there was not much point in asking me anything else and ushered me towards the piano. I sat down, my mind all over the place. I was drained. I started playing. Wrong note in the third bar already. Played an F sharp instead of F natural. Listen to my last episode to find out why I hate F sharp. And that's when I felt that the world was falling apart around me. Any of you have had stage fright? You know what I'm talking about, right? But somehow I managed to continue and finish the piece without any more mistakes. Just. First experience with stage fright. But not over. See, that was the trauma of filming in the TV studio, but the following week, the program was scheduled to be aired. And pretty much everyone I knew, plus the rest of the population of Lebanon, was bound to watch it. I remember as my own family gathered around our TV set that Saturday evening, full of anticipation and excitement. Well, for my family, for me, full of dread and misery. I knew what was coming, my interview and that wrong note. It was like watching a very scary movie with your hands covering your eyes because you are too frightened to watch, but still peeking through your fingers to see what is happening. The program started. The choir sang. My sister sang, all nice and cute. And then the presenter lady started approaching me to start the interview. And that's when I snapped. I jumped up and ran. I just couldn't bear to hear my broken answers, to see my flushed face, to hear that F sharp. I ran and ran and ran to my parents' bedroom and slid under their bed. Mom came after me, eventually finding me under the bed. Come out, Hovig, you're playing now, it's very good. No, 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 no. I refused and stayed under my makeshift barricade until I was sure the program was over. And thus began my adventures with stage fright and the genuine detestation of being in the spotlight. During my teenage years, I was playing the piano more and more at school, for assemblies, concerts, special events. One of my friends at school also played the piano, and he was actually much better than me. He was confident. In today's lingo, he was cool and chilled. He never seemed to get nervous. I think that helped me quite a bit. His relaxed attitude rubbed off on me. I especially remember when we played the four hands version of Aram Khachaturian's sword dance for a concert. That was fun. I gradually got more comfortable with being on stage, as long as what I was doing was in my comfort zone, or should I say confidence zone. And never was my confidence tested more severely than at university a few years later. I was playing the piano quite a bit, for all kinds of events there, mostly for fun really, because my main studies and degree were in media and broadcasting. There were many other students who were specializing in music performance. One of them was my friend Mark. He had an amazing voice, a deep, rich bass that resonated throughout the performance halls and penetrated one's very soul. He was performing regularly, including lead roles in operas. Mark called me one day and asked if I would accompany him on the piano for a vocal competition. My initial response was, don't you prefer someone else, someone who is an actual piano performance student, someone better than me? He kept insisting that he would rather have me accompany him. This was one of the many times in my life when I made a quick decision, without taking the time to really consider my answer, to sleep over it, without reading the fine print. One of the many times I said yes to something, even though common sense was vetoing it in my head. I said yes to Mark. He gave me the score to start practicing, and we started rehearsing together to prepare for the competition. The good news was that the piano score, for the most part, was not too difficult. And since Mark was singing when I played, it was he who was in the spotlight rather than me. I said for the most part because in the middle of the piece, there was a piano interlude of 32 bars. And that was the bad news. Not only was it challenging to play, it was essentially a piano solo. Mark was not singing during those bars. I was exposed, in the spotlight, outside my confidence zone. How I wish we could have skipped those bars, but no, it had to be performed exactly as it was written. A few weeks later, it was time for the competition. It was in a small venue, thankfully, with a small audience and just the judges. I survived. Mark was amazing. Good news. I had done it. It was over. Bad news. No, it was not. The judges announced that Mark had advanced to the next round. Well, that was good news for Mark, but bad news for me. The next round promised to be more intense, a bigger audience, more scrutiny, and more for Mark to lose if I messed it up for him. You see, there's an extra layer of stress when you're accompanying someone, especially in a competition setting. You may end up causing them the grade or prize they have been working so hard for. I relived those emotions later on in life when I was involved in ballet exams. Not me dancing, I quickly clarify, but playing the piano for the exams of the ballet students. I had to play each piece at exactly the right tempo, and sometimes at different tempos for different dancers, to ensure they perform the way they have been rehearsing in front of the examiner. It's nerve-wracking stuff. Because the last thing you want is for the little divas to blame you for not getting the mark they deserved, pointing to you while crying hysterically, "It was his fault, Mommy! He didn't play the piano right!" And them being pierced by ice-cold daggers shooting from the mother's eyes. Anyway, back to Mark. You probably can guess what happened next, right? Mark made it through the second round and was now in the finals. The finals, with all the top musicians. Do you want to get someone else to accompany you for the final? I remember asking Mark. Are you crazy? He said, totally oblivious to my pain and intense suffering. By the time we got to the day of the final, I had rehearsed the piece so much that I knew it by heart, by liver, by kidney, you name it. I had actually over-rehearsed it, which can be a dangerous thing because your mind then starts playing tricks on you by finding other random trivial things to worry about, like which of the pedals do I press on for sustaining? What if I have to sneeze suddenly while playing? Or do I play an F or an F sharp for that second note? Mark won the final, the entire competition. He was delighted. So was I, relieved that it was over. But it wasn't. I was informed that the winner had to perform for the end of the year concert in front of the entire student body and faculty, around 7,000 people. Mark was relaxed. He had already won. I kept thinking of all the musicians in the audience who probably knew every single note of those 32 bars of piano interlude and could play it much better than me. I was way, way out of my comfort and confidence zones now. The day of the concert, backstage, as we were waiting for our turn, I noticed that I had been clenching my fists tightly without realizing it. So tightly, in fact, that my palms and fingers were wet from sweat. In panic, I tried to wipe them dry, but they kept getting wet again. Now, in any other context, it would have been a fun, headline-making biological enigma, attracting tourists and pilgrims from all over the world to marvel at my water-producing hands. But right now, I needed dry hands and fingers that would not slide all over the piano keys during those 32 bars of music. Help! Too late. They were announcing our number. Mark walked on stage, and I followed him like a reluctant puppy, following the vet into surgery to be fixed. The rest is a blur. I don't remember any of it, just the applause at the end. Mark was happy. The audience was happy. I could fly to the moon. It was over. Really over now. I remember saying to myself, I never want to go through this again. 29 years later, I heard that same phrase, I never want to go through this again. But this time, it wasn't me talking to myself. It was our son, saying it after playing the piano for a piano competition last year. Hovan, our son, has been competing on the piano since he was 7 years old. At that time, he was too young to feel the pressure. He was the youngest participant in a Cyprus island-wide competition that year and made it through to the final round with 6 other pianists.
Τρίτος μας διαγωνιζόμενος, ο Χοβάν Nassanian. Ο νεαρότερος.
The final itself was held at the Presidential Palace and aired live on the main local TV channel. Talk about pressure. He was fine. We, the parents, though, were a bag of nerves. Torture to just sit and not be able to do anything to help while your child is performing. Absolute torture. Last year, though, for the same competition, things were different. Hovan was older now and more aware of what was at stake. Everybody was nervous, even the more seasoned older pianists, because of the pandemic. So nobody had been able to perform in public much during the past year. Hovan made it to the finals again, and as we sat in the audience with him, waiting for his turn to be called up for the final to play, he started shaking. "I don't want to play," he whispered to me. "You have to," I pleaded, giving Anna a weak smile under my mask to try to disguise how worried I really was myself. Not sure what we could have done if he refused to go up when his name was called, or if he just ran off like his dad. This was live on TV, not pre-recorded. We took turns trying to comfort him quietly. It didn't help that the first finalist got totally stuck in the middle of her piece and had to start all over again. Finally, it was Hovan's turn. And when his name was announced, our brave boy got up, walked to the piano, and performed his pieces. He didn't win first place, but the judges loved his performance and encouraged him at the end with advice and tips on how he can improve next time. Then, as we were leaving the venue, that's when he said, "I never want to go through this again." I looked at his eyes and said, "So you want to stop playing the piano? Stop performing? Stop competing?" He thought about it for a minute. "No, I want to do all that. I just don't want to feel the stress." Welcome to life, my son. We talk about this. About stage fright, about stress, about anxiety, pretty much anything to do with life. We learn together, try to find solution, and when there is no answer, we hug and pray, and eventually laugh. Today's music piece sort of ties all these together. It's not an original composition this time, but an arrangement of one of my favorite carols, What Child Is This? I actually came up with it and performed it around the same time I was accompanying Mark at university. And then more recently, I did a simpler version of it for Hovan to play at a Christmas concert. Now, just this last month, I've included the full version in my new piano album, Peaceful Christmas. The tune is the English traditional Greenslits, which is so beautiful and provides such diverse possibilities of how to play it. I start with an introduction that uses a combination of chord changes, which have sort of become my music trademark or signature. A bit of my Armenian genes, I guess. It's in A minor. Simple and plain, with just some different chords here and there. Then back to the intro, as an interlude after the first chorus, and modulating to D minor, and building up the different chords and variations of the melody for that second verse. Then I modulate again to G minor this time, climaxing for that second chorus, growing into more of an orchestral feel with various interjections. And then, quite suddenly, pulling back and finishing the chorus with a series of changes and phrases that somehow bring the piece back to the original A minor. I'm sure musicologists will study this last music maneuver for centuries to figure out how I did it. I could tell you, but it's my secret. Back to the intro at the end, and the last arpeggio in G major with an A bass for the ending. You can listen to the full track now on Spotify and all other streaming platforms. The link is in the details below. I hope you enjoy it and download and listen to the rest of the album. And you can look ahead to more music coming up very soon, and my next episode of the podcast also. Please follow me on Spotify, and you can also rate my podcast now on Spotify. But before we go, I never answered the question from the beginning, did I? Do I still get nervous? Not usually, no. I focus much more on enjoying the occasion now. I guess that comes with experience, right? It stretches your confidence zone. I see music performance as a privilege rather than something to just get over with as soon as possible. And I try not to take it for granted, especially these days with the pandemic. Appreciating music as a wonderful gift. Now, of course, sometimes things are totally out of my control. There are still some occasions when things just go wrong. And sometimes, yes, I still get a bit nervous. I still have some stage fright. But I have no choice except to carry on. You see, at my age, it would look funny to get up and run away in the middle of a performance, right? And besides, I don't really fit under my parents' bed anymore. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Drop a Note. And I hope you tune in next time where I talk more about music and life and another composition. Until then, my name is Hovig, and I am somewhat of a musician.